Panago Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
All right. Okay, so here's the deal. We have the podcast in two parts today because the NHL has decided in its infinite wisdom that it knew we finished recording at 4 o'clock. So it was going to do a major announcement about the future of the season at 4:30. And we said, not this time, NHL. We're going to split this in two. Now, I will not be here for the second half of the podcast. It'll just be Jesse and Steve, as I'll be with my daughter. However, I think, part of what we're going to do here at the beginning is we're going to do a little bit of speculation, what we think we know right now. And then you can laugh at it later when you go, they were all wrong. What a bunch of losers.
I think that's going to be very funny hearing what we think it is and then what it actually is 2 hours later.
Yeah, and that's normally what the comment section is anyway, so it'll be perfect. And then we'll actually find out, and Steve and Jesse will be able to react to it. Now, just a scheduling note for you, too. Our next show is going to be recorded next Monday, as Sunday is Everly's birthday. She keeps getting in the way of the show. Like, what the hell's her problem?
I'm really getting pissed off with her.
Yeah. We need to have a talk with her about this. And
tell her to get a job.
I know. She's going to be one, you guys. She's going to be a whole 1 year old.
Whole one.
Can't be 1 year old. It's 1 year old. And
it would be a shame if on your daughter's birthday, people spammed Steve's email and signed him up for a bunch of newsletters to wish Adam's daughter a happy birthday. It would be a shame if that
We
happened.
never really followed up on that, but I went in and deleted about 75 emails, you rotten piece of
It would
garbage.
be the worst if a bunch of people signed Steve up for Jib Jab. Just a bunch of Steve and Everly Jib Jabs. And if you do it, please post it. Just Steve and Everly, though.
Steve, what's the email to your book there?
Steve Dangle Book at gmail.com.
You want a Pornhub subscription? I think you got one.
Yeah.
Not that I know that, but
I know it from TikTok.
sure.
I know it from the memes.
Yeah, so does every adult. Now, there are some rumors floating around out there, and I don't know that the NHL's got this all sorted out, but there's some things that leaked today, and I'm going to start with Shayna. Hey, Shayna. She works for Hockey Graphs. Here's what she said this morning. It's also her birthday, so happy birthday, Shayna. The draft lottery for 2020 NHL draft will include 7 teams that didn't qualify for the 2014 tournament and 8 teams that are eliminated in the qualifying round. So if you're a Leafs fan, here's what it means. If the Leafs get eliminated by Columbus in the non-playoff round, that means that they will finish outside of the playoffs and outside of the top 10, meaning they forfeit their pick to Carolina, which is excellent. Just a super duper way to start the year. Thank you, Patrick Marleau's contract. You got to think that the Columbus Blue Jackets are sort of licking their chops to get their hands on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's part one. Okay, that's part one. And then we have some things with Pierre LeBrun, and I'm just going to pull it up here because I want to make sure I read this stuff properly so we can react to it properly. I don't want to just paraphrase. So Brian McNally said. Brian McNally 14 on Twitter. One minor thing I'm curious about: if the NHL goes to round robin play for the teams that get a bye, would those stats count? So if you're in the round robin play, or even if you're in the first round, how do you count those stats? Are they ever going to show up on HockeyDB? Do you know what I'm saying?
Are they playoff stats or regular season stats? Because that affects bonuses and contracts. So it's very important how the NHL wants to calculate it.
Brian McNally
That's fascinating, Jesse. That's a fascinating aspect of all this, yes.
And this is important for the Capitals, who I believe are a top-seeded team. Alex Ovechkin has a 9th 50-goal season riding on that decision. Braden Holtby sets a new franchise record with one more shutout. Pierre LeBrun said this to Brian McNally. By the way, Brian McNally of the NBC Sports Washington. He's big deal. Pierre LeBrun. So I'm told the NHL still hasn't decided yet what to do with these stats from the round robin / play-in rounds. Not really regular season, not really playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with that. What do you think they should do?
It's not the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they can't be put in the playoff category. So the only other category left is regular season. You're not going to make it a preseason thing.
What
right?
if you because you've made it all up.
They are literally making it up.
What if you make it a one-time extra stat?
Pandemic category.
That's
so
right.
It's lost to history.
Basically.
It's
It
like
just never
exhibition
counts.
games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you include it in playoffs. I think you include
Really?
anything scored now is a playoff goal because this tournament is technically the exception to the season in that it's after the regular season. So I think you create this category, you lump it all into playoff goals, playoff stats, because we don't even – how often do we look at playoff stats outside of
Rare.
the major players?
Unless it's Wayne
It's
Gretzky.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
So-
amazing how little it matters in our regular conversations. And
Right.
I've been doing a lot of digging historical stuff, and I'm like, why we should really be talking about this guy more or this player more or something like that because they just weren't a regular season performer.
So I
Well,
think
Joel
you just
Ward
lump
is
it
like
in
the
with all
perfect
that.
guy, right?
Yeah.
Joel Ward is. I tweeted something about
Justin
him
Williams,
recently.
too.
Yeah, his is absolutely ridiculous.
So let me present an alternate view, Jesse, because
Okay.
your view I respectfully disagree with, and I
Uh-huh.
will tell you why.
Mhm.
If we are not counting the round robin / play-in round as playoffs, then it
Mm-hmm.
has to, by definition, be an extension of the regular season. And in fact, I would go so far as to say, since we're playing a maximum of 5 games and each team had between 10 and 12 games left to play, you could argue that each stat, each goal and assist could be worth double.
Oh, get out of here!
If you're
Oh,
trying to,
stop!
if you're
Stop.
trying to prorate it over the
That was
season,
so stupid.
I'm saying, listen, you think if they're
You
going to
thought
count
era-
suspensions that way?
You thought era-adjusted goals were dumb.
Okay,
Hey,
so
and now we have
Adam's
this.
Corsi double stats by Adam
Guys,
Wild.
Austin
Oh,
Matthews
goals
needs a
are
50
2
goal
goals.
year. Okay, so just go with me on this one. But also, but in all seriousness, the stats thing is never going to happen. But I would say I would count that with the regular season because that's what it's supposed to be. It's a play-in.
Yeah,
We're
I
playing
think
in, it's regular season stats, and I think that should still count and that includes the round robin play for the guys that the Austin Matthews, the Alexander Ovechkins, I believe,
Holtby, Braden Holtby,
Holtby, obviously, but who was the third?
Pasternak.
Pasternak, yeah, McDavid, anybody. These guys, I think that they deserve a chance to pad their stats a little bit.
Well, and
why
let's say Ovechkin or Holtby or Matthews, they hit these milestones in the 5 play-in games that they play or whatever. They're still getting ripped off like 7 games or something like that.
That's why they should be worth double.
What about
You know
the
what?
other
I'm for
guys?
it. I'm for it.
Yeah, why not? Why would
What
they?
about the
Okay, so-
guys on the teams that have been eliminated? They don't get to play the regular season.
Well, they
games?
suck.
Should have been better. Don't care. Don't care.
70% of the league made the play-in round. If you couldn't
don't-
make that, you don't deserve it.
I don't think it's not regular season or playoffs. It's the little gray thing in between. It's this limbo area. I don't think it's either way. I think it's kind of like you got to look at it like the baseball play-in game. It's not game. There is a game 163 if that happens at a tie in the regular season, but there's also the wild card play-in where it's just a 1-game elimination. I think I look at it like that, where it's kind of, hey, this is the step before the playoffs, but it's after since you already qualified for this round.
That's a lot of games, though, to not count, right?
It is,
You
yeah.
You could have a player with like 7 or 8 points in those 5 games. In fact, you probably will in multiple
Oh, yeah.
series, and it's
And
just
you
not
have-
going to count. It's just going to go poof.
Yeah, you have playoffs with guys who go off in a series and then they get eliminated, and that's it.
Okay.
I say regular season. No,
I say regular
nuts
season
to
as well.
that. Nuts to all that.
I
And
say
Jesse
all
says
points
no.
count as 3. Why stop at double? Triple
You know
it.
what?
You know what? He's right.
He's fucking right. Yeah. First to 15 points. Let's go. Anyway, so to answer your question, it's going to be a very confusing afternoon, and it's going to be fun for you guys to get in and actually break this stuff down because afterwards, like we said, I think at this point, the debate about whether this counts or not is sort of over. And if you're still having it, you're a little just behind the curve. You're not seeing this for the fun that it's going to be. We're in a unique position in the world. I think you got to lean into unique positions and enjoy the ride because that's all this is going to be. It's a ride.
It's going to be a war. Like it's
Yeah.
You're going to have to play 5 rounds of playoff hockey. A lot of players don't even survive 4.
Yeah.
By the end of it, Patrice Bergeron played through a punctured lung, which is a whole separate issue. that I'm sure we'll get to at some point. Players self-administering stuff.
So
like
here's the
NHL
question.
players can be trusted.
The question about that, Steve, is it's a really important one. Now, I don't know if this has been announced yet, but teams are looking at, apparently, this is what they're saying, 30-man rosters.
Wow.
30-man rosters.
All for
My
it.
question to you is now, I don't have in front of me every team, and I don't think, and I love you guys, but I don't know if the depth of knowledge here is that we could definitively make this choice. But maybe there is. This is a challenge. Who has the greatest 30-man roster in the NHL?
Like, yeah, you got to look at the best teams, and then out of those best teams, their minor league system.
Right. Who's got the best AHL, NHL fringe talent?
How many goalies do you get?
I think you get 3.
At least 3.
Yeah.
The Rangers
probably
are
could have 4.
fascinating. Rangers are fascinating because, I mean, they have the best trio in the NHL. Can I say that? They have the best trio. And there was the other bunch of people tweeted me after the last show. Apparently, ice has been open in Arizona for a week now.
Wow.
Austin, Frederick, sir. Hope you've been doing a couple things. Pittsburgh's always got Mark Donk and Buzz Flibbit chilling in the minors, and they're amazing. Carolina, I think I already said. Who was the team? Well, they're not involved, but Belleville was looking at making a real run at the Calder Cup. Unfortunately, the Sens suck. So,
Yep. Well, hold on. I'm going to look up here. HL.
I want to know which rosters had players in the minors purely for cap reasons.
All right. Guys who could play on the NHL team but are just down there because they can't fit.
Are you guys ready to hate this?
That's wiped out now.
Who was the second best team? Don't you dare look at it. Who was the second best team in the AHL this year?
Boston's minor league team.
That's right. The Providence.
No way! That's amazing. You know what? They've had a crazy ability to call just
anyone.
Randoms up. Trent Frederick and things of that nature.
He sounds like a late Revolutionary War general.
Trent Frederick could not play anywhere else.
No, he has to play in Boston.
Yeah. And now for the Colorado Avalanche, Trent Frederick? Stupid. No. He's on the Bruins.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. That's amazing. That's
Adam,
amazing.
wasn't there a Pittsburgh Steelers player with the last name Hines?
Yeah, Hines Ward.
Hines Ward.
His first name was Hines. And of course, his
last name was Ketchup.
Yep. So he played at Heinz Field. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And he was
sorry, guys. I just thought I'd put a little mustard on it.
Oh, boo! And then he turned out to be Hines Ward. By the way, shout out Pittsburgh. Love you. Can't wait to come back for a game. Hines Ward never gets enough credit. Wide receivers who are truly great do some blocking. And Hines Ward is one of the greatest blocking receivers out there, meaning he did some hardcore work away from the ball. If the ball didn't go to him, he never bitched about it. He always caught it when it did, but he always was the guy throwing his body in front of like big defensive linemen. So the other guy with the ball, be it the running back or another wide receiver, had a chance to go a couple extra yards. Hines Ward, everybody.
I remember Hines Ward. Yeah.
He's great. And he also won Dancing with the Stars or something like that too. So like he was.
Did he?
So hey, I'm pretty sure. Or like he competed. I think he did win. But anyway, the Milwaukee Admirals are the number 1 team in the AHL this year. Providence Bruins number 2. Hershey Bears number 3. Iowa Wilds number 4. The Roadrunners.
An interesting one.
The Roadrunners number 5. Belleville Senators number 6. Eagles number 7 from Colorado. And the Stockton Heat number 8.
Stockton Heat. Interesting.
So
there's a few playoff teams in there.
So who do we got? So I'll start from the beginning. Milwaukee Admirals.
I believe that's the Lightning, isn't it?
There's
probably.
No way.
Check, but and there also at one point I think were 2 teams called the Admirals, but I'm pretty sure it's the Lightning.
No, that's the Syracuse Crunch. I knew that was wrong.
No, they were the Admirals when they won the Calder Cup.
Nashville.
Oh, great.
Oh, right.
Milwaukee
right.
is Nashville's AHL team.
Then you get the Bruins, Hershey Bears.
Caps, right?
I think so, yep. Iowa Wild, I don't know. Who could that be?
Nashville.
Don't know who could that be. Senators, don't know who could that be. Colorado Eagles, don't know who could that be. And then the
Colorado?
Stockton Heat. Yeah, man.
Flames.
I mean, listen, it's not good for the Leafs when the Marlies were 20th in the league.
They got killed. As soon as Sheldon Keefe got hired, they turned to garbage.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning that they lost Jeremy Bracco, I think less than a month into Sheldon Keefe.
Right.
Being with the Leafs. It was not good.
No.
Not good.
It does
Paul
go to show that-
McFarland still the Leafs assistant coach?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he
Yeah,
is until the
okay.
season's over. Yeah.
That's a funny
Playing
one.
out the year. It's an odd one, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 can't
I don't
think
know.
of any other stories like
I
that.
would
around the
assume
league.
that they can change that if they wanted to. Like if they really wanted him gone, I'm sure they could. But what's the point at this point, right?
You don't bring in someone new in the middle of a pandemic.
No, just
You know?
go with it.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe
Paul,
they
you're here
don't.
until you're not, man.
Question. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, you cannot ask a question. This is the Steve Dangle podcast. Only Steve
Yeah,
can question.
asshole. No, I was just going to throw in that Capo Kakinen, I believe, just won AHL Goalie of the Year. He's with the Wild. There you go.
There you go.
Steve, you mentioned something quickly earlier in the conversation when you said something about players administrating things themselves.
Yes.
So, side thought off of that, what happens if a player this whole time has been taking illegal substances? They won't be tested, correct?
You mean smoking the weed?
No, I'm talking PEDs.
Well, that's
Steroids, Adam. Steroids.
Still, well, like
Guys
weed
in
is
any
not
league,
legal in the States
but-
yet. Totally.
NHL players, Olympians, because they can't be tested. Do you think anybody would take advantage of that?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Anybody
depends.
comes back with a gigantic forehead, you'll know.
Yeah.
I'm
A
sure
lot
they
of
got a
back
home
knee.
gym.
Yeah.
No shirtless interviews.
What happened to his testicles? They're gone.
Yeah.
Well,
We just went out there and we gave it 110%. And, it's great to live out my childhood dream of being a Stanley Cup champion. My favorite thing about it is that we won it clean. We did it honest.
By the way, did you see? I know this is a total sideshow thing, but whatever. This podcast has been a sideshow since the NHL was canceled. Did you see the Lance Armstrong promo clip for his documentary?
So the first part aired on Sunday, right?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't even know where you can watch it.
ESPN.
Well,
Is it?
It aired
That
in the
doesn't help
Last
me.
Dance spot, but yeah.
Jerks.
Is it produced by Lance Armstrong?
I don't know.
This is very important.
I doubt
Because
it.
The Last Dance, you watched it like, okay, we got to take everything that's said with a grain of salt because this is a Michael Jordan production. I want to see Lance Armstrong go full, I am the greatest.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I worked, unfortunately, for this guy in this story. I worked at a radio station in Calgary, and Danny, it was a guy named Danny who worked there and is a huge cycler, loved Lance Armstrong. And I don't think Lance Armstrong realizes how many hearts he broke. I think the day that all came out, man, Danny was a live strong guy. He was let's do that. It's crazy. And he's right up until that scandal broke, he was it's impossible. The guy had cancer. How could he even, he was light because he had chemotherapy. It was great. And I think the Lance Armstrong thing will be very, very interesting, whether he produces it or not. Because if he does produce it, if it is Lance, although I doubt he would have much of a say in it, because I think ESPN's smarter than that. It would be interesting to get his perspective on it, because no one has ever been caught more red-handed and yet remained so belligerent about it.
That's why I hope it's produced by him. And just how he's the victim and everything. And just, I feel bad for Danny, man, because that is heartbreaking.
That was his hero. He was, and Danny used to be Danny was on the weekends, he would just come into work on Monday and he'd be yeah, I cycled 120 kilometers this weekend.
Oh my God.
Are you serious? Yeah, he was one of those guys.
He just loved Lance Armstrong.
Loved cycling. And in Calgary, there's no limit. You can just go and go and go and go. So
unless you hit a moose.
I think I just want to check that on my dog. You guys keep. Oh no, she's cool. Okay, she's outside, and I thought she jumped over the fence, and I was a little freaked out.
Just real quick, I went through that with track and field when Maurice Green got bit for doing steroids. That guy was the fastest man on the planet for years, and he took the mantle from Donovan Bailey, and I always like saying that Donovan Bailey had the last truly clean 100 meters before Usain Bolt.
I'm just kidding.
Before Usain Bolt. It's true. 10 years. 10
so
years.
on Sunday, part 1 aired, and the director has done a couple of interviews. And
12 years.
Said that they had to get Lance to work out before they conducted the interviews for the documentary, because after he worked out, he would finally sit down and relax and start opening up. So he would sit down to do the interview, and then he would be like all antsy, and they'd let him go work out for a couple hours, and he'd come back and he'd be like, all right, I'm trying to reveal all my secrets. So
wow.
So he's a weird dude. And he also admitted that he started doping at the age of 21, a lot earlier than anybody thought. And that he doesn't rule out the possibility that his testicular cancer was due to taking growth hormones in 1996.
Can I throw something out there? I remember watching another cycling documentary. I don't think it was around Lance Armstrong, but a lot of the cyclists, they like literally can't sleep a full night because they take this thing that thickens their blood, and they literally have to go out in the middle of the night and ride their bike, like to get their blood going. Wow, so for Lance Armstrong to have to leave mid-interview to go work out is a little on the nose, isn't it? That's a little on the nose, isn't it?
Does anybody watch the Tour de France and not say, fuck that? What an awful experience. I just can't imagine. So, hey, we're going to be on this. I'm going to be on a 2-wheel bicycle through the mountains with a bunch of other people. I have to be extremely quiet, and I have to do it 8 hours a day for an entire month.
I'm breathing in exhaust the whole time.
And stupid people yelling at you from at every angle, all the way, every leg. And it's an amazing event.
And it lasts a month. Like
it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's not just a race. It's a race for your whole month.
You should die. You should die.
My God.
No human should survive that.
Some random guy vacationing from Manchester's watching. He jumps in front of your bike and knocks you off. And there's all your training gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. And then here's the thing. It's like if you're number 2, you're like, okay, I'm number 2. How far away is number 1? Oh, he's only an hour up on me. What the fuck?
You guys, did we just discover that the Tour de France is the dumbest thing in the world?
It's so stupid. But I'll still watch it. Oh
yeah.
It's on in the morning, and then baseball's on in the afternoon, man.
No. I watch the highlights, which are someone crossing the finish line. And I'm not watching someone bike for 5 hours.
It's good to do laundry too.
So are so many things. Listening to music, an audiobook. We rewatch every cinematic from Red Dead Redemption 2. It's 19 hours worth without the side missions. I'm not watching the Tour de France. Come on. What are you doing? Takes a lot of talent, takes a lot of drive. Not watching.
And 90% of them are cheating. So.
Oh yeah. Friend of the show, Chris Johnston, watches it every year religiously, and I know that because I creep his Instagram stories, and he likes it. And I think for him, it's probably I don't know. This just happens to be on, and I'm exhausted after another ridiculous hockey season.
Right. You know how pro gamers, like pro Fortnite gamers, play something else in their spare time to unwind?
Yeah.
I think a lot of hockey guys are like, I just love the Tour de France. That's the dream, is to watch the Tour de France, and
it's so boring and stupid.
The Rogers Cup, and I just love what's another one? Some sort of bowling.
Oh, darts, man! Darts is wicked though.
You can't unwind to darts.
No, you
wind up to darts. The same guy from Manchester's there, and he's in the front row. It's unbelievable. And he runs on stage, and he grabs the dart out of the guy's hand, and he throws it right at the table. There we go.
He's got a Wayne Rooney jersey on. It's just fun stuff.
Every hockey player and media personality is ridiculously good at golf for some reason. I don't know what it is about.
Yeah, man. What is it with that?
But they're intertwined for some reason.
I have a ceiling on account of I never played hockey and also don't play golf.
Well, there you go.
I can't. I never played the game and also don't do their biggest summer activity.
Right. Yeah, golf is.
Hey guys, you available? Nope. Always nope.
Golf's a weird one for me because about hour 2, I'm done, and there's 2 hours left.
That many?
Yeah. I'm just but I think what it is it's a golf is the ultimate challenge. You can't when you're pedaling a bike, you can get angry at the bike for a little bit and pedal harder or whatever, and you see more results. The more angry you get at a golf club, the more angry you will get because you will continue to get worse. And it's this ultimate I'm going to stare at this and I'm going to hold myself back. It's self-control. And I can understand that. But I just have to exercise self-control in so many other aspects of my life. What the fuck do I need to do it on golf for?
There's never been a sport less designed for me.
No, yeah,
Like gymnastics, pole vault, like all those things where I'm like I could maybe do a flip, hurt myself and recover over the next 5 days. Golf?
No.
That leaves psychological scars that last a lifetime.
I would love the three of us to go out golfing one day and film Steve taking every shot.
Well, so this is.
Can we bring drugs?
We kept talking about doing a summer show called Cool Shit with Steve, Adam, and Jesse, and just taking Steve to a golf course would be a great first episode for that. And I think
like a nice 9-hole.
Yeah, like a par 3, whatever.
Yeah, par 3. Yeah, par 3, 9 holes. Yeah.
I could do 9 holes. I could be brave through 9 holes.
Well, I think a par 3 is good for all of us anyway, right? Because we're all kind of suck. Yeah. But I'm sure Jesse's pretty good.
I broke my brother-in-law's golf club once. It went further than the ball. I didn't even do it out of rage. I just tried to hit the thing, and it went flying. The head of the golf club.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Is this a true story?
Yes, it is. Everyone makes fun of Charles Barkley. I'm like, shut up. He's trying.
Now, did your pants stay together, or did they try to separate like Tom Brady's?
Yes. No, the only time I've ever humiliated myself by splitting my pants in public was at a Henry's when trying to buy a ring light once.
Ah.
You told that story on this show. You came in here after that excursion.
I was very upset.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of credit for it, but that dunk of yours.
It's getting bigger.
It's formidable.
It's getting bigger because I'm working on my lower body right now. You should see it.
I'm at home throwing walnuts. That ass around.
Crushing walnuts between my. I'm gonna become a TikTok person. What? What do you want?
Anyway, I think we got to take Steve to a golf course this summer. Yeah. We're all allowed to see each other. So anyway, I think we should jump into the press conference now because at about 4:30 we're gonna have to wrap up this portion of the show, and then it'll just be Steve and Jesse for the second half. If you just give me 1 second, it's very hot outside. I'd like to pull my dog in from outside because I feel like she's going to escape and chase a squirrel.
I will play the press conference music while you go do that.
Excellent. I'll be right back.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
First question is for Adam Wilde for Adam's History Corner.
Oh. All right, here we go.
Gavin writes.
Gavin, maybe?
No. Gavin.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gaveen. Gavin.
Oh, Gavin. Okay. All right.
Gavin!
Been a huge fan of the podcast for years. This is a question for Adam's History Corner. What's your hot take on Major General Sir Isaac Brock, known as the Savior of Canada, and has a church dedicated to him in Queenstown, where he was killed?
Of course.
Right. He died at the Battle of Queenston Heights.
Hope you're happy and healthy. Adam, go ahead.
So here's the thing. Isaac Brock, you got to remember where Canada was at the time. We were the Canadian territory. We were Upper Canada. Quebec was Lower Canada. Does it make sense on a map because Upper Canada is actually lower than Lower Canada? No, but that's how they viewed it at the time.
Where's Rupert's Land?
Rupert's Land is up north. It's like Northern Ontario.
Land.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand. Prince Rupert, probably. Who knows? That one I don't actually know. I'm sure somebody out there does. It's amazing how many people, by the way, I hear from in my DMs after the history thing each time. So thank you for DMing me. But the thing with Isaac Brock and the thing with the British Empire at the time is America was very upset with England for several reasons. The reason that the War of 1812 happened, and this is when Isaac Brock would have been fighting, is that the British government was basically taking American sailors off American boats and saying, okay, you work for us now. It's called impressment. And what they would do is they would claim, because Americans and British don't look a lot different at this point, and then their accents aren't even that different at this point. The British accent that we know today versus the American one that we know today isn't that different at this point. You got to remember, America's only been a country unto itself for about 35 years. So it's not, a lot of the people that fought in the Revolutionary War on both sides are still alive. So when England kind of jumps in and starts doing this, America starts to get pissed off. And there are various treaties in the early 1800s, like 1801, 1803, 1804, or whatever. And at the same time that this is all going on, Napoleon has taken over France and starts to take over Italy and then takes over Austria, and then marches into Russia. Like this whole big thing that he had going on in Europe. And England's entire job at this point is to contain him. So they need an enormous navy so they can blockade every port around Europe, because Napoleon literally ran all of Europe for a little while. And they want to block any American goods from coming in so that the European states that are under Napoleon can't get the raw materials they need to fight the British. The British will not capitulate. Napoleon can't invade because he doesn't have a navy. The British Navy can't invade because they don't have an army the size of Napoleon's that would stand a chance. And so there's this weird sort of Cold War that exists. And the reason I'm telling you all this is America goes, hey, you know what? England's a little caught up. They're also stealing our sailors, and we're kind of pissed about that. Here's a great opportunity to steal the Canadian territory, which, many of the founding fathers thought Canada should be a part of the 13 colonies, including like Benjamin Franklin. In fact, in the treaty that resolved the Revolutionary War, they said, give us Canada. You should just give us Canada. And Ben Franklin was like, just literally in a carriage, Canada. He was like, you should just give us Canada. What are you doing? And the Brits said, no, absolutely not. And Canada at that point extended, I think, right into Michigan. Like, it was a huge territory. So basically from there, you have officers in the British Army at this time are of a certain class. You have to be a high-born person to be an officer. And if you are put into Canada, you're not, it's not class A here, right? Like, they got their best guys back on the home island or in the Caribbean where they're making their real money off sugarcane. And so Isaac Brock, for whatever reason, and I have to dive a little bit deeper into that, he ends up in Canada. And again, the officer class here is not great. So America's looking at this like, hey, we're an upstart country. They had a bunch of war hawks who were in Congress at the time. They're like, let's go fight. And so Canada has to fight a defensive war. And Isaac Brock is at the head of this. And he, time after time after time after time, embarrasses, not just wins, embarrasses the American forces, who are poorly led by one of them. I think the first year they had a general in charge who was lazy, alcoholic, and didn't even really want to be the general.
Sounds like a problem.
So yeah, it's a bit of an issue. And here's the thing: after the first year in 1812, total fucking disaster, and they don't replace him because they don't have anyone. They don't have anyone else. So they keep marching these guys in these big armies into Canada and losing. Now, Isaac Brock specifically died on a bit of a foolhardy. It was the right thing to do, sort of. But Queenston Heights, if you've never been to Queenston, they're called the Heights for a reason. It's a massive.
Where is Queenston?
Queenston's down near Niagara.
No, okay.
Yeah, so there was
the Canadian side.
Canadian side, yeah. So there's a Battle of York, which is Toronto, where the Canadians lost that one, and it was really important that, from what I remember anyway, it was really important that they took the Heights. And so Isaac Brock, being not a leader of his time, most generals at this time sat back on their horse, watched the army happen, and then signaled to their guys who they want moving forward and who they want moving back and what cannons they want firing there. This guy led from the front, which is something that you didn't see from a lot of generals at this time period. And he turned out to be just a spectacular leader. But unfortunately, at Queenston Heights, he got hit with a sniper bullet or ball. It's not a bullet at this point. And he died. But it was one of those, he is a hero because he was able to hold off the Americans with far, far less in terms of numbers. But you also have to remember too, at the time, whereas warfare now is very offensive, the strength is in the offense. Back then, with muskets and cannonballs, the edge always went to the defense. You always had home field advantage if you were on the defense because they had to march 10,000 guys straight to you and then stand them up in front of you with a bunch of muskets and go, okay, I'm going to fire, and then you're going to fire, and then I'm going to fire, and then we'll see. And that's sort of the Isaac Brock story. It's a little bit light. I wish I knew a little bit more, to be honest with you.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
off the top of your head, that's nuts.
But it's funny because it was like Canada's this backwater shitty place, and they send this poor guy from England, and he's probably thinking like, dude, I'm actually like really talented. And he got to rise extremely high because he was here. And I know that it's funny. After the Napoleonic Wars sort of wrapped up, the War of 1812, which was stretching into 1815, was still happening. And the British were hoping that Wellington would come over and win some battles for them. And then that way they'd have better negotiation rights with the treaties with the Americans, which inevitably wound up the war. And it took 6 months to wind up the war. Not only were they negotiating, but if you sign a treaty and then you've got to ferry that treaty back over to North America, there's going to be battles that happen in between that time, right? So, you've got a month delay on any news that's coming back and forth. So they asked Wellington, I think, to go over. And he said, no, I'm not going to Canada. That's stupid. Just wrap up the war. This is really dumb. Like it was literally like you've got it to England at the time. The War of 1812 is like a stone in your shoe. It's like, okay, let's just shake the stone out and move on. It's nothing. It's a nothing thing. It's a huge thing in Canada, huge thing in the States. Creates major changes with how the Americans run their army, creates major changes with how Canada defended itself, and created the beginnings of, believe it or not, the friendship that exists and has long existed between England and the United States. It was at that point that there started to be the foundation of, okay, I guess we can respect you now. So that's 1812, a little bit more than Isaac Brock, but there you go.
Is that how we got Fort York?
Yeah, well, I mean, you would have had to have a fort in every sort of major city, right? You've got Fort Henry and Kingston, and
that's why the reason they built all those condos.
yeah, and there were Fort York was not impressive. There was impressive forts, but yeah.
Hear ye, everyone picnic really close to each other,
and wait 45 minutes at 5:00 for your elevator, so you can go home. Because only 2 people per elevator, guys.
Oh yeah,
Oshawa sounds good.
Yeah, right. Okay. So anyway, that's
you guys want to do some trivia?
Yes,
sure.
All right.
Adam,
So,
as your friend, do you need to go?
No, I'm good. I'm going to be 10 minutes.
10 minutes? We got 10 minutes? All right. We'll do this trivia and then we'll wrap. So today's trivia is, who scored more goals as a Toronto Maple Leaf? So this is
going to be fun.
All-time goals.
Love this stuff.
All-time goals.
Did you do this? Who sent this in?
No, so this one is from the internet is Scary44, who wrote the question for our last podcast game and was disappointed that you guys did so well.
Oh.
So I'm just going to fix my mic here.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, so you think my history corner is good. Steve is pretty amazing with stats with the Leafs. So, with names and stuff. You pick stuff out of the air, man. It's pretty cool.
We'll see.
First question.
Okay.
Who scored more goals as a Toronto Maple Leaf? Nazem Kadri or Austin Matthews?
That's tough.
Oh my God, that's really tough.
Are we season 5 of Matthews?
4.
4.
And he had 40. I want to say 40, 32, 34, and 47. I think Matthews. Kadri had the 2 32-goal seasons, and other than that, he was hot in 2013, but that was a shortened season.
He had a lot of 20-goal, 15-goal.
He had that nightmare season in 2015-16. He didn't score very much last year. I think it's Austin.
I'm with you. I think Austin as well.
You guys are both going Austin?
Yeah.
Nazem Kadri has scored 161 goals as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Austin Matthews has scored 158.
Oh wow!
Damn!
I love this, man.
So Matthews will tie him when he hits 50.
Yeah, he's 2 away from 50. Yeah, he was at 48.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, he's
at
47.
Naz is like top 20 all-time in Leafs goal scorers, by the way, just because the Leafs have been so bad.
You want to know where Matthews sits all-time goals?
Yes, I do.
27.
That's stupid.
The franchise is 130.
Like he's already top 30. It's so bad.
Yeah. He just finished his ELC. Like,
all right, next question. Tyler Bozak or Doug Gilmour?
See, Doug Gilmour was a Leaf for 5 minutes.
5 seasons.
5 seasons, minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, he has the best season in Leafs history with 127 points, I think it was. But I think
he scored like 20 goals that year.
Yeah, he barely cracked 30 goals. He had like 90 assists.
Yeah. I'm going to say Tyler Bozak. He was with the Leafs for like almost a decade.
I'll say Bozy.
You guys are both going Bozak?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you the numbers. Doug Gilmour, 393 games played.
Oh, I thought you were about to say goals.
I don't think any Leaf ever has 393 goals. But anyway.
And goals is 131. Tyler Bozak.
More than I thought.
594 games played.
Ooh.
136 goals scored. So you guys are correct.
Oh.
136 is more than 131.
Yes.
Barely. Wow.
Right. This is really good.
Right.
Really good.
Mikhail Grabovski or William Nylander.
Grabovski had very sneaky good years during a very bad stretch to be a Leaf fan. But I think Nylander wins that. Nylander, I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for last year, he'd be like far and away ahead. But his first year, he got 20 goals, didn't in his first 2 years? He got 20 goals and 40 assists or something like that. He got 60 points.
He has at least 20 in each of his first
two
full
and then
seasons.
He had
last year was a nightmare.
Last year's a nightmare. He had like 7 last year.
And this year, he already had more goals than Grabowski's best year, which was 29.
He is 30-something? How many goals do you have?
34.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Nylander.
Adam's saying Nylander.
I'll say Nylander. Grabo was a playmaker.
All right, you guys sticking to the same answers. All right. I'll give you the numbers again. William Nylander, 307 games played.
Already?
307 games played.
He's old.
Mikhail Grabovski, 340 games played. So not that much.
I'm not scared. Not scared.
Grabovski, 91 goals scored as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
I might be scared now.
William Nylander.
No.
86.
Oh! Wow.
Damn.
All right.
Man, he was bad last year. Oh, that sucks. All right.
Remember when we spent the whole summer going, no, he's great. And he is great, but it was just one of those like, oh, you're going to, all the dummies are being proven right now for the wrong reasons.
Willie, come on, buddy. Come on, Willie.
All right, next up.
Like I said at the beginning of the season, Willie, help us defend you.
Yeah,
and he did.
Help us help you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Joffrey Lupul and Mitch Marner.
Oof.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Who scored more goals?
Mitch. Joffrey had several limbs hanging off of him by the end. Like, that poor guy, had never had any injury luck, but boy, did he have a good run.
He had 2 very good seasons.
One of them was the lockout shortened one, though.
Yeah.
And he was dynamite. That Kadri Lupul line was amazing.
So good.
Best third line in the league.
And then there was that year where he made the All-Star game, which I don't think was the same year. That was the one in
All-Star
Ottawa.
game that year? Yeah, I don't think they did.
No, that was the year in Ottawa, and he did this thing at center ice.
Steve, lock in your final answer.
You lock it up.
Joffrey.
Adam, who you going with?
I am going to go with Mitch Marner.
Joffrey Lupul played 280 games as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
I lost.
Mitch Marner has played 300 games.
I lost.
Wow, already.
Mitch Marner has scored 83 goals. Joffrey Lupul, 88.
Oh! Yes!
Unreal. Damn. All right. Wow.
Gee.
You know, when you think about it for a second, Joffrey Lupul had a 5-year deal with the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's what he's wrapping up.
Yeah. So for about $25 million, the Leafs got 88 goals. That's an expensive buy.
Plus the 4 plus whatever that he was already getting from Anaheim that they inherited. He was supposed to be a cap dump. He ended up being a very good player. It's a miracle he got that deal for himself.
Yeah. Set for life, man. Good for him.
Good for him.
All right. Final question. How many goals, or who has more goals as Toronto Maple Leaf? John Tavares or Zach Hyman?
Ooh, because Zach Hyman had a good year.
He did. Tavares struggled a bit this year.
47 plus whatever.
47 though. So Tavares has about 70 goals as a Leaf, I'm going to say.
Yeah. Hyman, what was his first year with the Leafs where he was like, fourth line guy where William Nylander was wearing number 39 and it was the old jersey.
I think he had four goals, I think.
And then the next year, he's been close to, he had, I think, 15 and then 20?
He was on a 30-goal pace this year. It was stupid.
It was stupid.
He hit 20 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I'm trying to get Hyman up to 70 is what I'm trying to figure out. He had a really good season this year. He had a good season last year.
He had 20-something last year,
I don't remember
15?
what he had in his first full year, though.
I think he had 15. And everybody's like, because he played with Matthews and Nylander.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, this guy, and he missed 10 of them. He swung and missed on a lot, and he has worked on his finishing, man. He scores a lot more now because he's going to get opportunities, right?
He was crazy snake bitten.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Tavares. I can't in my head get Hyman past Tavares.
I will also say Tavares because I believe that 47-goal year puts him ahead of 3 or 4 of Hyman's seasons, right?
Yeah.
Combined.
John Tavares has played 145 games as a Toronto Maple Leaf. He has scored 73 goals.
There you go, Steve. Right on.
Zach Hyman has played 302 games as a Toronto Maple Leaf. He has scored 71 goals.
Oh! Is Zach Hyman worth $11 million a year? Mike Holloway.
I just got a phone call from someone at Sportsnet, which means stuff is about to happen.
Oh, it's 4:30. Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy. I'm excited to see what this announcement is. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Well, that was a lot.
It was.
Sure wish Adam was here.
That's okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
On a Monday.
It is what it is. I am under strict instructions to stay off Twitter, so I will. I have closed it. Any news I have not already seen, I will not see.
Awesome. So it was basically Gary Bettman comes on and he confirms all of the speculation. It's going to be the 2014 playoffs. It's going to be that round robin that's weird with a best-of-5 series with all of the non-top 4 teams, all of the rest of the conference. Toronto's going to play Columbus.
Yes.
There's going to be 2 hub cities, one for the West, one for the East. The top 4 teams are going to play for the top 4 spots, so everybody's going to have fresh legs going into the technical first round.
Yes.
And then he gave the draft lottery odds, which are very wonky.
That's weird.
I don't know why they went with this decision, but they decided they're going to do the normal draft lottery odds with the teams that won't be resuming. So they'll have all the regular odds. But there'll also be placeholder odds for all of the teams that'll be eliminated in the round robin. And if one of those teams wins one of the top 3 spots, then they'll do another set of draft lottery odds to determine which one of those eliminated teams gets one of those top 3 spots.
So this is a little preemptive,
Mm-hmm.
and this is depending on how this is all executed. It's depending on the safety. Making sure players are safe from infection, safe from everything, safe from their families getting infection.
There are enough tests available.
All that stuff. So this is contingent on that. You won't hear me say this very often. I think Gary Bettman did a great job.
Yeah. There's
really
nothing to complain about.
And the whole return to hockey committee, which it was interesting. A lot of Leaf love in there. JVR, who's obviously not with the Leafs anymore, but he was. John Tavares,
JT.
Ron Hainsey, and then who were the other players? Connor McDavid, I want to say.
Yeah.
And there's one more I'm missing. One more. I got 4 out of 5.
Well, that's good enough.
It's pretty good.
But yeah.
So I'm going to tell you why they did those draft lotteries the way they did.
Okay, first,
okay,
I want to know what you think the Leafs' odds are against Columbus.
It's jump ball. It's total jump ball for the Stanley Cup. Under normal circumstances, I actually don't love the Leafs in a series against Columbus. The Leafs are a team that they've sort of gone toe-to-toe with them in the regular season. The Leafs win one, the Blue Jackets win one, but the Blue Jackets always give them a tough time. Like, it always seems to be close. They're annoying. They seem to really get under the Leafs' skin. And I think some of that has to do with the way John Tortorella coaches. But like I said in the previous show, I think coaching is so much less of a factor in a jump ball scenario like this. It's one thing if you're the Leafs and you come into a season and all you use is your fun super duper skills. You use no systems whatsoever. And then it's not till November, December, teams start to figure you out. And then the season really starts. The season starts running right away. So if the Blue Jackets were to be playing the Leafs in the playoffs just regularly, I would give them better chances than I do now. If it's all about skill, the Leafs should have the advantage here. What is fascinating in all this, though, is Korpisalo is healthy. But he wasn't the Blue Jackets goalie for like half the season or something like that. Seth Jones is healthy. There's several players on that roster that are healthy.
Josh Anderson.
Supposedly he's still a maybe.
Okay, even if it's like August?
This is the other thing.
Because the date that they said training camps won't open until at least July 1st.
That's very important. The earliest NHL training camps will open is July 1st.
So we got another month to go.
Yeah. So how long will training camps be, though? Did they specify that?
We
don't know.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it'd be longer than 2 weeks. So, yeah, if we go to August, that's interesting too. Like, if it goes to August, like, are we talking Andreas Janssen now?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems early. I'm not totally sure, though. I think he was supposed to be 4 to 6 months recovery, something like that.
Plus all of the guys who are going to heal on the Leafs. Like, Riley's going to be 100% by then.
You'd think so. Freddie, you'd think so. Matthews. Austin Matthews put up 47 goals. And by the way, Austin Matthews missed the Rocket by 1 goal.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, because you sent the Rocket numbers as well.
Like, who are the guys that we know were not 100%? Hyman was looking great, but even he was like, because of the offseason.
Muzzin.
Dermott. Muzzin.
Yeah.
Riley. Dude, half the roster. Half their decor for sure.
Yeah.
So, again, this goes back to what I was saying about the advantage for the Leafs. If you're just relying on skill, because you're coming in cold and you're healthy, I think it's a tremendous advantage for them.
Okay.
But the Blue Jackets are no joke, and they proved that last year in the playoffs, and I assume they'll prove that again this year. It won't be easy.
Is it fair to say for this core as well, for this group, just for their mental state, I think it might help them that there's going to be no home crowd. There's going to be no pressure.
It could. It definitely could. I mean, it's advantage for absolutely everyone. A lot of players are going to have to watch their mouth. A lot of players are going to have to watch their mouth. That's going to be fascinating.
1, the games will be on a delay, I think, just to avoid that. And 2, I think you pump in noise just to make it sound, whether that's actually in whatever facility they're playing in, or if that's just on the back end of the TV truck. You simulate the TV sounds as much as you can in post-production.
You're going to have Travis Konechny next to a live mic on national television. They're not
doing that. No league is doing that and allowing that to go to air. That's getting off.
Just show me the Flyers. Just show me the Flyers.
Unless we're airing this on like HBO after midnight, then that's not happening.
Yeah, and like watch your mouth. I mean far more nefarious things, but if you're asking hockey players not to swear mid-game, it's good luck. It's not going to happen. So that's a fascinating thing. So
Leafs Columbus is first round. What do you are you satisfied with this 2014 playoff format, the format overall, and the round robin play-in?
I'm satisfied with it, yes. And I appreciated that Gary Bettman admitted that there was no situation where every fan base was going to be totally satisfied with that. And when you compromise, everyone's kind of a little bummed out. but you don't realize how mad some teams would have been had you not made these compromises. So the reason the draft lottery is so screwy, I think, is part of the compromise. Because let's say the Penguins get knocked out by Montreal, which is a legitimate worry of theirs, obviously. It sounds like they were worried about playing a 3-game series against Carey Price, which, are the Penguins better than the Montreal Canadiens? Of course. Could the Montreal Canadiens win 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh? Of course. It's Carey Price. It's the Montreal Canadiens. Like, even though they were far back in the standings, it's the National Hockey League. It's such an even league.
Tampa lost 4 games to Columbus last year.
Yeah,
I think Pittsburgh could lose 3 to Montreal. It'll happen. It's hockey.
Boston had a losing record against the Detroit Red Wings.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it could happen. It could happen.
So you want to get into the draft lottery odds here?
Well, yeah. So sorry.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
The Penguins were virtually guaranteed to make the playoffs. Montreal was virtually guaranteed to miss them. They were something like 1% odds to make them. If Pittsburgh is knocked off by Montreal, that's going to be a pissed off fan base and a pissed off team, and rightfully so, because they were going to make it. They were going to make it, and we got knocked out because of this goofy system by the team that least deserved to be there out of 24. 24th out of 24.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make that up to you? Sweet daddy Gary Bettman, sweet baby daddy Gary Bettman is hooking you up with a chance at the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd overall pick.
Okay.
Now, the way they're doing it is a little screwy, and I'm not sure okay, if I'm a team, if I'm an exec with the team, I hate the way it's being implemented. As a fan, this rules.
I love it.
It's
awesome.
The best.
Yeah.
So phase 1 is basically if all the 7 teams that didn't make it here. Do you want to do this, Jesse?
Phase 1 happens June 26th. It's basically regular lottery, except including all of these placeholder teams.
But so this is before training camp.
This is before training camp. This is June 20th. This is in 1 month exactly. 1 month plus a day because it's 31 days a day. So June 26th, the 7 teams who didn't qualify for this playoffs will get to have their balls picked out by Gary Bettman, and hopefully they get one of the top 3 slots. But in the lottery odds, there's also these, 8 placeholder teams, which are the eliminated teams, the round robin that hasn't happened yet. That could not happen for maybe 2 months from that point. You know, so we could have, the number 1 overall pick is this team that got eliminated in the playoffs that aren't going to happen for another month and a half. So we'd be sitting there just being like, we don't know who's going to have no more pick. That's crazy.
But like, if you're like, it's so, if you don't think you have a legitimate chance at the Stanley Cup, but you're one of the 24 teams, and there's a bunch of teams in there that genuinely don't think they have a shot.
Chicago.
They sold at the deadline. Chicago's an interesting case. They're one of the teams I think could upset. And Oilers fans are not stoked about that matchup, and I don't blame them.
Minnesota, maybe.
They're an interesting team. But like I'm trying to think who are the teams that sold at the deadline. Let's maybe bring it up. But like you're like you can't it's a terrifying move as a GM, because let's say you sold.
Mm-hmm.
You made peace with the fact you were going to lose. You're going to win this qualifying round, which isn't even the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to go in the first round to what?
Lose to Tampa
or something like that. That's another fascinating thing. They have not decided whether or not the first and second actual rounds, not the qualifying round, the first and second actual rounds, the quarterfinal and the semifinal, they haven't decided if those are 5 or 7 games.
Which is fair.
It's fair, but I'll say what I've said about a number of things. If you can safely play a best of 5, surely you can safely play a best of 7.
Right.
And if you're going to play a best of 7 in the conference final anyway, and in the Stanley Cup final, surely you can. I think the reason they haven't committed to it yet is they have no idea. They literally don't know when the playoffs are starting.
Just timing. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it doesn't start till mid-August, you can't commit to 4 7-game rounds.
All right. So just on the draft lottery to wrap it up, the Leafs, they traded away their first-round pick to Carolina.
Yes.
But it is top 10 protected.
Yes.
So is it if it lands in the top 10 or if they finish the regular season out of the top 10?
No, let's say the Leafs were to miss the playoffs.
So they lose in the first round to Columbus.
Well, okay, let's say under regular circumstances, okay?
No, throw that out. We're living this scenario right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So Leafs lose to Columbus.
Yes.
What happens to their first round pick that they sold to Carolina?
It's very simple. If it's a top 10 pick, it belongs to the Leafs. If it's 11 to 16 or whatever it is, or 15, it belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay.
And it's complete up in the air. So the fascinating thing is if one of the lottery balls, whether it's first, second, or third, goes to one of the non-qualifying teams.
The next 8.
Or
the first 7.
No. I'm saying out of the 8 that don't make it out of the first round. I held up 10 fingers just now. Out of the 8 to make it out of the whatever, the fake playoffs, and they are considered fake playoffs, Jesse. You were right about that.
We'll get to that, yes.
We'll get to that as well. Where was I going with all that? Oh, they all have 12.5% chance.
Yes.
But
which is technically 3.5 because 12.5 is based on everybody's odds in the 3, but you have to factor in that the first 7 teams are going to have odds as well.
Which is an important distinction. So let's say, we've been talking about odds. The Montreal Canadiens' odds of making the playoffs before all this nonsense was incredibly low. If the Pittsburgh Penguins somehow win this draft lottery, or the Edmonton Oilers somehow win this draft lottery, give it to them. Give it to them. They only had a 3.5% chance. 3.5% chance. If they get it, and it's like, we said when they got the McDavid one, if you actually look at the odds, the mathematical odds that the Oilers would get the 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2015 first overall pick, it's once in a lifetime.
It's hitting the lottery.
We'll never see that again.
Yeah.
They hit the lottery by winning it 4 times. So whoever wins it, the odds were not in their favor. So as far as I can tell, the only teams really getting jobbed are, well, at least compared to the original reports out there, are like the Red Wings and the Sens. But that initial pitch was ridiculous.
Yeah. The odds for Detroit to win the first overall pick are 18.5%.
As it should be.
Ottawa's
roughly
is 13.5%. And then their third pick overall is 11.5%. So they have those 2 odds combined of getting a top 3 pick. Los Angeles is 9.5, Anaheim 8.5, New Jersey 7.5, and Buffalo 6.5.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. Like, you had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
The Buffalo Sabres in 2015 put themselves in the best position they possibly could to get Connor McDavid. They fell short. They got Jack Eichel. It is what it is, man. Detroit, like they said, we got screwed by the draft lottery. Like, they're not entirely wrong. Like, teams skipped ahead of them. Remember when the Stars got Miro Heiskanen and they were like nowhere near the bottom? Who cares? Like, it is what it is. It's called a lottery, man. It's called a lottery. So they made it really convoluted for sure. But I do find it fascinating. And imagine, like you said, Jesse, the first overall pick could hang in the balance until like Labor Day. Like,
right.
It's unbelievable.
It's great theater. I got to give them credit for that.
Fantastic. And that's all we need. Yeah. That's all we need in the world. So another thing. So I was watching that with my wife. She's like, what? Only 2 cities? How many games a day are they going to be playing? That hockey is going to be on your television
They're going to be playing nonstop games. They'll start at like 10 a.m. and it'll go till 11 p.m. and they'll just play it out because they just have to finish the season. That's all it is at this point. Just get these playoffs done. So it's going to be playing constantly. And you brought up the two cities. So I have the list here of all of the hub cities
that are being deliberated,
that are being considered. And I'm going to ask you where you think the most likely two destinations are. So we got Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis/St. Paul, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Vancouver. What stands out to you there?
I'm surprised that Canadian cities are still being considered. It sure seemed like it was heading in a different direction.
Yeah, especially with what Justin Trudeau said, Prime Minister.
Yes. Yeah. But they're still being considered. I think the NHL would like to do 1-1 if it was possible. But like I said, the one person standing in the way of hockey coming back, there may come a point in time where it's the Canadian Prime Minister. And it kind of looks like that's where we are. Edmonton does make a lot of sense. I saw a lot of, Toronto people and GTA people. One thing Gary Bettman said after his initial statement there when he was on with Tim and Sid is he would like to make sure it's in a city that doesn't have a high rate of infection.
Edmonton would be that city.
Edmonton's there, but like Toronto, no, we lost that privilege.
Yeah,
we lost that.
There's too many people here, I think.
That is another huge issue. So right away, when you said Chicago, I'm like, no. Even if their rate's low, no, there's way too many people. Mm-hmm. Toronto, there's too many people. Vancouver, now we're talking a little bit better. Edmonton, I think, is even smaller.
Mm-hmm. Vancouver cases have been extremely low.
They've been low, yes. I don't know the American cities case by case. I don't think Nevada's actually done particularly well, but they're in a unique scenario where you can literally lock 12 teams in the MGM Grand or something like that. And, half of them probably won't even see each other. Right. Something like that. It's unbelievable. So Vegas is this weird fantasy fairyland. And then there's St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I don't know enough about it. And then what are there any other American cities?
Pittsburgh,
Los
Angeles, Dallas. We haven't talked about any.
LA doesn't make much sense to me.
LA is so
pretty sure it's hard hit
that you might be able to find places. I don't know.
It's so hard to get around.
Yeah,
well, maybe that's different now. I have no idea.
And they did say teams will be limited to 50 personnel. So I am assuming that's including coaching staff and players. So you got to think 27 to 30 players, maybe 25 players plus 25 personnel. Seems like a lot.
That was another little bit of math I was trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. Well, and does your general manager need to be there?
No.
Does your assistant general manager need to be there?
Maybe.
Does your statistician need to be there? I know a lot of statisticians throughout the NHL they work remotely. So that's a fascinating one. Sorry, I was distracted. I just got a text. There's roughly a 25% chance, just shy. It's 24.5% chance a current playoff team wins Lafreniere.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love
awesome.
It. If my team was close to finishing last, I'd be upset, but they're not. So, it's hilarious. Detroit, Ottawa, any of those fans of the bottom seven, teams. You're kind of getting jobbed, but it's like Sugar Daddy Gary said. Not everyone's going to be happy.
So what do you think of have you put together the math of those 50 people? How that works out?
I'm really trying. Well, I'm trying to picture the amount of people on the Leafs bench who are not players. So there's Brian Papineau, 3 coaches. So we're up to 4 now. And there's usually at least one other guy on the bench. So
backup goalie.
Yeah, no, they count towards the roster. And they have that other coach. I can't remember his name. He used to be with Hockey Canada, who is not on the bench. He's sort of waiting in the wings.
In the tunnel thing?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly
no.
what he does. So in terms of just bench personnel, you need like 6. You could probably finagle it that you get 30 players. But that's overkill. In what scenario are you going to need 30 guys? But that's a fascinating one right there.
What do you think?
I want to see hockey reference. I want to see how many players the Vancouver Canucks used in the 2011 playoffs. I'm trying to figure that out. Because I know they used 13 defensemen alone.
Okay.
Which is wild. Playoff scoring. The Canucks used 27 players in the 2011. Oh, plus goalies. So were the goalies included in that? Yes, they were. Okay, so 27 players.
I think that's about roughly what you're going to need. I think it's you try and travel with 26 to 30 guys.
You need at least 5 lines. So there's 15 guys. You need 4 pairs. So there's 8. And I'd say 3 goalies. 3 seems, boy, you're playing with fire. Because, so talking about e-bug situation, emergency goalie situation, what happens if 2 of your goalies get hurt playing 5 rounds of playoff hockey?
Maybe you bring 4 goalies. Maybe both of your AHL goalies come with you on this show.
Even 4 might not be enough.
Okay, here's something that I assume they haven't even come close to determining what the process is for this. But do you treat a positive COVID-19 test as an injury? Meaning your team keeps playing and that player sits out?
So there's a media availability going on after this is done. We just weren't going to be able to get the show done.
Yeah.
So we're going to miss some stuff. But one of the things that was said was or reported I want to say it was by it was a Flyers reporter, Sam. He was the guy who had the Claude Giroux pass the baton tweet, pass the torch tweet. Basically, teams could get as many as 2 positive COVID cases, and they would still allow the team to play.
Interesting.
That is a scenario where, listen, all we're talking about right now, there's a reason we're talking about this with such excitement. We're talking about it with the blinders on that this is going to happen.
Yes.
Okay?
That they have a health system in place that can support this.
Yes. Now, actually having to get into the adult conversation of it all, you're insane. I don't know if 2 people on your team, 2 people out of your 50 that you bring, and if you don't need to bring 50, don't. But 2 people out of your 50 that you bring get it. I keep going back to Travis Dermott's flu from a month before this all happened. It went through the Leafs like a brush fire. And some guys got hammered by it, and some guys were a little sniffly for a week, and some guys were barely affected at all. But I would love to know what percent of the team was positive whatever Travis Dermott had. And I don't even know if he was the first guy.
All right.
People they're just not getting it. I was seeing there was a university in the States. They're like, well, I mean, so much of our, a crazy percent of the students are young, and the research says they're not going to die from it. So I can't believe we're this far into it, and we need to explain it to you like you're a toddler. It's not about you. It's not even necessarily about someone who has it. It's that they may give it to someone else. Pandemic.
Right.
Holy shit. That it's been going on for this long, and we have to explain it to you like you're in the 3rd grade. I'm not a smart guy, and I grasp this. Come on. But so I don't know. Again, you have 12 teams in the same hotel, let's say. One person gets it. What on earth do you do?
Yeah. That's why
I don't know that.
That's why this is our plan, and this plan cannot take action until there are the health processes in place.
Bettman seems pretty aware.
Yes, which is I loved this press conference because it had everything you needed at this moment, because we have so many unanswered questions and they didn't try and answer them. The NHL seems to be taking it in stride and understanding that, okay, we now have a plan that can take action once all of these other dominoes fall.
And there might be some awful quote that comes out that completely contradicts everything that we just said, but we don't know.
Right now,
we're on it.
They're great. They're doing a great job.
That's as good a performance as I've ever seen from Gary Bettman.
Easily. One of his best. Yeah.
Ever. And he's banned from the show. I might unban him after that. Except pandemic, Gary, so you can't.
It was,
we'll talk.
It was Michael Jordan versus the Utah Jazz-esque.
Wow.
He stepped up.
Bettman ate a bad pizza. is what you're saying.
Pizza game. You know what the other rumor about that is? That it's not the flu game, not the pizza game, that he was just hungover.
No, yeah, that was the original rumor they called it the flu game, and then no, it was just a hangover.
Yeah.
But
I think it's still that.
No.
So okay, let me break this down for you.
Okay.
Tim Grover, the guy, Michael Jordan's trainer, the guy who's recounting the story of the flu game. He's in the room with Michael at the time.
And he says, something's off about this pizza.
He says, it's a bad pizza. 4 guys showed up to our door, delivering this one pizza, checking into the room, trying to see if Michael's in there. Michael takes the pizza, spits on it so he can only eat it himself. That's the story that Tim Grover, who was in the room, is telling the cameras.
He should have never been on camera. Like, as a Michael Jordan produced, like a Michael Jordan production, when Michael Jordan told the story, I'm like, I believe him. And then that guy hops on camera. I'm like, no, where'd you find him? Where'd you get this guy?
Right. That's his longtime trainer from before he won all those championships. Anyways, so he tells the story about how it's the pizza. You're telling me that the hotel allowed 4 guys to go up to Michael Jordan's room and deliver a pizza? That they walked into a hotel lobby, said, hey, this is for room thingy, and 4 guys walked up to 402 and knocked on Michael Jordan's door and dropped off a pizza? When Tim Grover ordered the pizza, he said, this pizza's for Michael Jordan? Come on.
Yeah, why? How would you know that? How would you know that?
I think he just got drunk in his hotel room because that's what he does.
Bulls fan. But so drunk that he was still hungover at 7 the next night.
See, Michael Jordan. That's where it's like, okay, he's probably done this before. Like, I'm sure he's had a drink after a game,
but he was older.
I don't know. I keep
telling everyone.
Yeah, I'm not buying the flu, but I'm not really buying the drinking either. I don't know what it was.
I keep telling all you young kids out there, you do your little college partying, whatever. There will come a time in your life where your liver will tell you, knock it off. Specifically, 27. Mm-hmm. How old was Michael Jordan in there? I think he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought, he thought he was still playing the Knicks. Nope. It's the Jazz. It's the late 90s, Mike. You can't do it. I don't know. But, man, a guy who, regularly drinks, I don't know how heavily, but he regularly drank, and he's literally the world's greatest professional athlete. How much would he have had to drink to still be hungover at 7 the next night?
Right. And how much food poisoning would he had to have it 24 hours later?
I've had food poisoning, I believe.
I've slept at night and been good after food poisoning. Like, it's been bad that day, and then by the tomorrow afternoon, you're good.
I actually recently, 2 weeks ago, had pretty decent food poisoning, and I had a workout the next day. I've been FaceTiming my trainer. Relax. And I almost passed out 3 times. He was like, maybe we should stop. And then I did the exact same workout today. I was perfectly fine.
But you did the workout.
But I did the workout. So I struggled really hard, and I had to lean on Scottie Pippen.
You're sweating.
I was sweating.
We're going to make a documentary about it 20 years later.
Towel over my head. There was a really shady trainer telling everyone, no, Steve just spat on the pizza and wouldn't let us eat any. Yeah, I totally believe the story, except for the trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like the come back to play plan. I think
so,
it's really good.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, it's just a shame that we're all getting so excited about this. Like, people are jacked right now. They're ready for hockey to come back next week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the case. It is still, best case scenario, over a month away. Don't know what the future holds. I really appreciated how much the NHL was like, listen, this isn't our decision.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Dana White. Like, there was no threat to buy NHL Island. It's still wild. It's still wild.
John Oliver on Last Week Tonight did a nice bit about how Fight Island is the laziest name for UFC fighting island. And he left off all these great puns like UFC, SEA.
Oh, Fighter Festival.
Anything. Fighter Festival's good.
Except Fire Festival was a disaster, so maybe you don't want to associate it with that. But
still,
you would have been self-aware.
Anyways, I thought it was hilarious. So 2 things before we go. You wanted to talk about, we talked about in the first recording of this podcast, the regular season numbers. So the NHL has declared that the regular season is finito, like I said they would. So all of the stats are complete, and you had some gripes about the Rocket Richard.
Well, not gripes. I'm just upset that Austin Matthews is missing out on the Rocket Richard by one stinking goal. And if that happened, honestly, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened, I'm not going to say dishonestly, but it happened in the really weird, goofy way that it did. Leon Draisaitl is officially the winner of the Art Ross. He was very going to win that anyway. He had 110 points. The next closest guy was Connor McDavid, his teammate, who played 7 fewer games, had 97. Holy crap. The Vezina Trophy is a really interesting one. Vasilevsky had by far the most wins. He had 35. Next closest was Hellebuck with 31, but Hellebuck had better numbers, a 9.22 versus 9.17.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other goalie who really should be in that conversation, I think, is probably Tuukka Rask, who only had 26 wins, but he was, holy shit, he was a 9.29.
Wow.
5 shutouts. Hellebuck had 6. I would say for Hellebuck to have done it on the Jets.
Right.
Like, I saw a good tweet. Like, forget the Vezina. He should be considered for the MVP.
That's what Adam's been saying.
Hellebuck,
Hellebuck for MVP.
He's not wrong. He's not that off base, man. He's really not.
Do you want to pull up the Leafs numbers? Is there anything that stands out to you now that all those numbers are official and the seasons have been capped for those guys?
Let me see.
I know Willie, he did surpass 30 goals, which was very important.
I mean, there's a few guys who had the best year of their lives despite all this. Matthews, 80 points and 47 goals in 70 games, which I think both are career highs. Mitch Marner did not get there, but the pace he scored at this year was bananas. 67 points.
That he'll finish with a below 20 goal season. Like, I don't think in any regular season where he plays 80 games, that he's going to finish with less than 20 goals.
Yeah, but 67 points in 59 games.
Right. The points are there for sure. Wish he had 4 more goals, but whatever.
Tavares too. Like, he took so much criticism. It's like if you get a point that's not a goal, it doesn't count. Like, it's ridiculous. He had 60 points in 63 games, 26 of which were goals. Missed time with a broken finger, and also then played through a broken finger. Anyone who's had any sort of finger injury knows you kind of got to use your fingers, and friggin' they take forever to recover.
Yeah. Willie, he would have finished with like a 32 and 45 season. Like those are great numbers from JT.
Fantastic numbers, especially all things considered. Willie had 59 points in 68 games. He had 31 goals and 28 assists. Goofy. Tyson Barrie, who took so much shit and was defensively infuriating, granted. He still had 39 points in 70 games, and almost all of those 39 points came under Sheldon Keefe.
It's true.
So basically, Tyson Barrie put up, like, I don't know, at least 30 points between like December and March. Mm-hmm. That's not bad. Zach Hyman, this guy, 37 points in 51 games. Good. Not overly impressive, but very good.
Robbed of a 25-goal season.
21 goals. Are you kidding me? Kasperi Kapanen, I thought, was underrated. Or at least looking at the numbers, the amount that we completely railed on this guy. 36 points in 69 games. Nice. Only 13 of them were goals. Again, like, if you don't score, it's just not worth it. Kerfoot, pretty disappointing, actually, for all the talk about how like good he was on the Tavares line. 28 points in 65 games, 9 goals. Boo. Riley, way fewer goals, only 3 in 47 games, but he had 27 points and obviously proved how important he was to this roster. For league minimum, Jason Spezza, 25 points in 58 games. Again, a lot of those points coming under Sheldon Keefe, 9 of which were goals. Ilya Mikheyev, who will be back for the playoffs. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, especially considering it looks like it's August.
This is what I was talking about with Ilya Mikheyev, by the way. 23 points in 39 games. 39, that's all he played. And 8 of which were goals. And this was a guy who like never really shot the puck. And who knows, he probably still won't be very good at shooting the puck coming back from that wrist injury. But losing Riley was bad because the Leafs defense was already bad. Losing Ilya Mikheyev, he brought so much to the Leafs that that complements them and that also they needed. He was so responsible defensively. He was so fast. He's so long. He was so good on their penalty kill. He really started to hit his stride, and he made their offense truly formidable. And when they lost him, they start taking from their strength to address weaknesses, and they take Kerfoot and they put him up there, and it sort of works, but then the third line sucks and blah, blah, blah. Like losing Janssen sucked. Losing Mikheyev was a real killer for them. Muzzin, 23 points in 53 games. Andreas Janssen had 21 points in 43 before his season was ended. Justin Hall, 18 points. Boy, there's quite the drop-off now. 18 points in 68 games. Man, that guy had a hot couple weeks, signed a contract, and pieced. Hopefully he's able to have a much better playoff. Pierre Engvall, so disappointing. 15 points, 8 of which were goals in 48 games. He was scoring at a 40-point pace for a while, and that obviously went away. And then I don't know. Do I need to go down the rest of the lineup?
I think you're good. You want to take a look at Freddie's numbers?
A lot of players, right? Our 2 goalies left on the roster. Freddie, in 52 games, 52 of which were starts. He was 29, 13, and 7 with a .285 goals against average, dumb stat, and a .909 save percentage. I think he's better than that number suggests.
Yeah.
He went through a couple just god-awful stretches. That guy played 3,007 minutes in the Leafs net, which I gotta think is close to the league lead. Jack Campbell, 6 games, 6 of which were starts, 3, 2, and 1, with a .915 save percentage, which was very good. Now, there was also the little wrinkle, and this is fascinating because I think they said they still had to negotiate this.
So you sent a screenshot of a very interesting picture.
What was that?
Is that what you're going to talk about?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, we'll get to that after. I'll remind you of what you sent afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, no.
I am looking for...
What are you trying to find?
Sorry, I'm trying to go to the LA Kings cap friendly.
Okay.
And
Is this for the Jack Campbell trade?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so the trade was on February 5th, 2020. The Los Angeles Kings acquire Trevor Moore, a 2020 third-round pick from Columbus, and a 2021 third-round pick from Toronto. The Leafs get Jack Campbell and Kyle Clifford. The conditions on the 2021 conditional third-round pick. Conditions on the 2021 third-round pick. Upgrades to a second-round pick if either Kyle Clifford re-signs with Toronto or if the Leafs make the 2019-2020 playoffs and Jack Campbell wins 6 regular season games. So basically it's a third rounder unless the Leafs sign Kyle Clifford, no? Like
because
unless they
Campbell did not win 6 regular season games.
And he no longer has the opportunity to.
Right. The regular season is over. So
unless the Kings kick up a big stink and they do some sort of arbitration, which I can't imagine. Like, it is what it is, man. Like, the regular season, it didn't end. Or it is ended. What do you want? So, basically, if the Leafs re-sign Kyle Clifford, it's a second. But otherwise, it's a third.
Do you think they will re-sign him?
Depends how he does these fantasy fairy tale playoffs.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so.
I love Kyle Clifford, man, but, like, that's a steep price. I hope he signs for very little money.
Right. If he does resign. Now, the last thing, you sent a screenshot of a Buffalo Sabres announcement.
Yes. Let me bring that up.
You would like to touch on that before we go?
Yes, absolutely. Because there were 2 little pieces. So they issued a Tampa Bay Lightning-esque statement. This isn't how any of us envisioned our 50th season coming to a close. Our promise to our fans is that we will come back stronger as a team and as a community, it's interesting wording. We cannot thank you enough for your loyalty. Also very interesting. We can't wait to get back on the ice. So it's interesting that we talked about, I want to say Adam brought it up. It might have been you though, Jesse. The Sabres aren't going to play, and no California team is going to play, and the Red Wings won't play, and the Sens won't play. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm missing one more team. They're not going to play from like March to December.
Right. Because it looks like we're aiming for December 1st-ish, mid-December 2020 season start.
And it just is what it is. Uh-huh. It is what it is. Like, what do you want?
Right.
What do you want? It's a pandemic. I think the safest route is for none of the 24 teams to play. Or none of the 31 teams to play. They have 24. And the Sabres missed out by, I think it was 2 points. Or 1. Is what it is, man. And they bought at the deadline. Remember, they got Wayne Simmons.
Well,
Wayne Simmons is a Sabre.
The Sabres have one of the biggest screw jobs in this whole thing because they had games in hand over the Montreal Canadiens. So the Sabres had 69 games played. Nice. The Montreal Canadiens played 71 games. The Sabres had 68 points. The Montreal Canadiens had 71. So the Sabres win those 2 games in hand. They have 72 points.
I hope the Buffalo Sabres website has not updated because I want to see who they were going to play.
That's a good question.
I hope it hasn't been updated. May 2020. Well, that's obviously out the window. Oh, it has been updated.
They took out the games?
You bastards. Yeah, that's fascinating that they updated the team website. Have the Leafs done that? I guess, well, no, it's like an NHL-wide system they have. They must have. Darn! Now, I'm sure some Sabres fans know.
I'm sure if we Googled it hard enough in like 5 minutes, we could find it. But
nuts to that.
Somebody else tweet us.
So that's fascinating. And also from John Warrow, retweeted by Luke Fox. Breaking: Sabres co-owner and president Kim Pegula tells the Associated Press GM Jason Botterill will return for a 4th season, which is eons from now. So, put it this way. if you're one of the 7 GMs not in a playoff spot right now, you have nothing but time. Use it wisely. I personally, if I were obsessing over everything every day, I think I would make a lot more mistakes. Yeah. It shouldn't take you 10 months to figure out what you're going to do and what your goals are. So Jason Botterill, who already looked like the most tortured man in all of hockey, if you looked at him in the press box, he's going to have almost a year to think about what to do with his hockey team.
And he has a lot of conversations to have with Jack Eichel.
So many Zoom calls. So many Zoom calls.
So I'm thinking on Monday, our next episode, we do awards. So we'll hand out all our picks for all of the major NHL awards. Now that we know the regular season has come to a close.
I like that very much.
All right.
I'd like to end with a tweet from producer Drew.
Oh, what do you say?
I'm personally rooting for Pittsburgh and Edmonton to win picks 1 and 2.
How dare you?
Just Lafreniere from Malkin and Crosby. Lafreniere, Draisaitl, McDavid.
No.
Why not?
No.
Personally, if the Leafs win, wonderful. If they lose, I can't feel that bad. And who knows, they might get another superstar.
Can I tell you right now, the Leafs are winning the Stanley Cup?
I know.
This is it. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen this way.
Did I not call it?
You called it. We all thought it. And we were like, yeah, damn it. Steve's right. It's going to happen.
You get that clip on standby there, Jesse Blake. You get that clip on standby.
3 months from now, in the dead of summer, it's going to be 45 degrees outside, and the Leafs are going to be hoisting a Stanley Cup to an arena of no one. And we're all going to be in our homes on Zoom being like,
crying.
This is great.
Oh, I'm just going to stand outside my front door.
With a mask on.
That's going to be fascinating. Toronto is one of the best cities in terms of getting rid of COVID-19. The Leafs win the cup. Oh, and yeah, you thought Trinity Bell would. Oh, shoot! I said it.
You said it. All right, let's wrap up.
I had an episode and 3/4 streak. Damn. All right, that is it for this one.
Do the YouTube thing.
Okay. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like to tell all your friends that a team that had like 85 points is about to get the first overall pick.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.